the finals here. Zaen went 3-1 in the group stage and has so far been undefeated in brackets in order to get to finals. So this is going to be fantastic. Away we go. Starting from Link's house, we have Zaen picking up a heart container, and starting from the sanctuary, we have Xirtanul picking up the bloomerang, the sanctuary.
Yeah, I think it's a throw for fun. I got my boomerang. I'm ready.
You know, out of the two boomerangs, I think it's the preferential one. But maybe that's just me. I don't know, is that you too?
I don't know. I definitely am used to the blue one, but the red one has some pretty cool tricks that you can do. Like even when you're going down in pod, when you walk down the stairs, this one trick you can do to hit the switch. It's kind of like they both have their little niche uses.
I guess they do, yeah. And it's not too common that I've used the red meringue, I guess. But we have Xirtanul going for fake flippers, Houlihan not having the flippers, I'm sorry, to get rupees nice and early, and I believe that was a sword on Zane's end.
Yeah, that's a sword at the uncle, but chooses not to go into escape. And yet, Xirtanul doing the fake flippers, just not even doing the flippers at all. And go straight to Houlihan. It looks like he's going to go for an early island check and to get some bombs.
Not a bad play. I don't think I've seen anyone actually get the bombs from this shop. But I suspect then, no, that's just a save and quit. I was wondering if maybe you would just head straight to Sahasrah on Eastern at that point. I have heard of that strategy. That'd be an interesting one.
With the bombs, you could go to Southern Shore with the Moldron Cave. You could go to Eastern. You could even just go back into Escape with the bombs. You only actually need 5 bombs to get through all the guards if you can set them up properly.
Okay. Good to know. And I don't know if you noticed. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No. I didn't have much to say. Just it can be a good early advantage if you know how to do that.
That it could be. I was going to say, I don't know if you noticed on Zane's end, before he killed the green buzz blob with the sign, he did stun it, and there was a 20 rupee that dropped out of that. So that's literally a valuable stun path. We'll see if that gets any advantage taken of it later on.
Yeah, it can definitely be good to know that sort of thing early. Especially if you're in like Zora's domain, and you're like, oh man, just a little bit short. Now they have their bloomerang.
And speaking of blue, why don't we just pick up a blue shirt as well? It's been a blue seed with bombs, bloomerang, and the blue mail nice and early. Xirtanul heading over to the mini Moldorm cave.
Yeah, and the fire store has a blue handle too, and I have to say I'm definitely liking this purple Phoebe hat right here.
And there he goes. Yep, he knows that the stun pack is that 20 rupee. We saw him use it twice there on those green guards. Nice job by Xirtanul, quickly taking out the mini Moldorms with the bombs. Their movement, very erratic, not always lining up for you. Nice and cooperative this time around. Nothing of value in this cave, though.
No Lake Hyplia, just Moldorm cave.
Lake Hyplia. I've never heard that.
Really?
I don't know how, but wow, no, I like it. That works.
Yeah, it's kind of like Hype Cave is Hype Cave until it becomes Swamp Cave, and then you got Lake Hyplia until it becomes Moldorm.
Fair. Nice to see a hook shot in the back room of Blind's house.
Yeah, Zaen will be able to start hooking here before long. With a glove, he might find Lantern, and that might be his mountain access.
Within the logic, at least. They could get there now, although it would be a sequence break. But with that hook shot, some runners may choose to take that right away, because it is a nice option.
Yeah, if you're out from the south of town going up into Lost Woods, if you have the gloves, sometimes people will kind of do the backwards Aghanim check, and then just go straight up the mountain, because you activate the save point. You can get a quick check or two.
And there we have our first map check. Yeah, it looked like the green pendant up at the Tower of Hera, and I believe 2 crystals. Unimportant crystals. No, I mean, they're all important, I guess, all 7 of them, but Yeah, Crystal 2 at Eastern, Crystal 4 at the Desert Palace, and the Green Pendant at the Tower of Hera.
Yeah, Seed's definitely looking really good so far. As Zaen going with the classic chicken clip. There's a few different variations of it. They all do not really much anything for the run, but still good to see.
They're nice and fun. Especially on that, like, the maybe 1 frame perfect window that you can actually throw the chicken through as it explodes and goes clear into the next room. Which, of course, could lead to the well-known you picked up an invisible chicken thing, or it can just get in your way entirely.
Definitely. And kind of ruining the blue theme a little bit. We're finding some other items here, but we did find the blue potion, so still kind of blue.
So blue team is still in the lead then, I guess. I'm not sure that other items are formed on other teams, but I guess there's certain color schemes to go along with.
Yeah, Gan's blue, team blue, something Xirtanul.
Oh, there's Team Green with the half magic. Showing up, better late than never. Didn't quite see what that was on the library. That was pretty quick in and out.
Yeah, Zaen definitely wanting to go quickly.
That just looked like a bomb upgrade on a second glance. So probably not a spot that we'll come back to. In fact, definitely not. Let's not even sugarcoat it.
Yeah, and Xirtanul does not go for the chicken clip. Okay. So maybe 0.1 to Team Link here. But making immediate use of that glove, going to the back of escape, it's a really safe, quick, and offensive check to do, because you can't necessarily route all the way through to escape. You don't know where the key will be. It can be really tricky in terms of placement. So going here, you get to do 3 very quick checks. And you start very close to the sanctuary. Finding the silver arrows.
I mean, 1 out of 3 when it has the value of 3 things in 1, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's like a 23 is number 1 something. 3 in 1 Ocranton.
Is it something like that?
Not really.
But we can say
I
it
didn't
is
wait
to
an
make you
hour.
happy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so Zaen doing his sure check. I think technically it's quicker to not pull the switch first, to do the chest check first. In the event it happens to be something like boots. You did have a hook shot, so you could have hook shot to the chest, but with so many items so quickly, you're still trying to figure out, okay, what's my game plan? Where the items kind of leading me?
Mm-hmm. You know, I've seen people do it both ways, where they go to the switch first or the chest first, and I've never actually known if it really makes any sort of a difference, because you still do both of them. I guess it's just a preferential thing. Maybe one is faster, who knows?
Yeah, like it would only be faster by a little bit, somewhat negligible.
But at this point, basically cross-checking everything that their opponent has already done. Xirtanul about to find the silver arrows, Zaen about to find 5 things of nothing.
Yeah, sometimes finding not a whole lot in the beginning of a run isn't too bad, because you're kind of just buffering, the rest of the run. You know that you'll find more progression later because you're not finding much as early. And then little things like the arrows and the rupees and the heart pieces, they kind of add up and kind of pad the rest of the run. So it's not too bad to find that stuff early, especially in more mandatory checks.
Yeah, worth noting that 9 minutes in, we have 8 hearts on Zane's end, 7 on Xirtanul. So we've certainly seen less healthy seeds in the past. So it seems that instead of getting progression, we're getting health. Like Dory said, we're getting other items and trinkets and whatnot. I believe this is going to be our first Ice Rot Cave check.
Yeah,
the other
and for
thing,
sriracha too.
Delicious sriracha. The other interesting thing is that the longer we go without finding progression, it almost gives it more of a bottlenecked feel. You don't know when that one thing is going to be that you need, when you're going to find it, where it might lead you.
Yeah, exactly. So nothing in Szechuan's hut right there. Some money our container and a bomb upgrade.
I
So again,
prefer-
more kind of long-term quality of life stuff. And, again, the good thing is that you're playing to your opponent, not necessarily the seed itself. So your opponent is going to make these checks. So if you don't get anything, it's not a big deal just because you know that the opponent is going to go through the same thing. It's later when you make like those, crucial like Pendice or Pen Swamp decision. That's
Right,
when it starts to get really important.
as the options begin to wane about an hour and 15 minutes in, it's really a fight or flight decision that you gotta make, and hopefully one of the things that you choose is the right one. The classic thing that I've mentioned many times in commentary is that it could come down to someone going left, the other person going right, and only one person can be correct. There's the lantern for Xirtanul, the first chest in the Eastern Palace. So dark rooms are now in sequence, also no longer dark, of course, as if that wasn't apparent enough.
It'd be funny if it's kind of like the GBA version where you get the lantern, but you're using like your main hype about is to use as a weapon. Not even that, it lights up your dark rooms.
I think I played the GBA version once when I was about, 12 or 13. It came out in like the early 2000s or so. I don't remember all of the differences between the two.
I believe Link makes sound effects, kind of
yes.
all that Ocarina of Time, and the lantern actually has a hitbox. You can like burn bushes and enemies and stuff.
Okay. Well then.
But yeah, with the lantern, Mountain definitely starting to look more appealing considering it's in logic. Still not a whole lot though. So Aghanim is still on the table too.
And we'll see what sort of options they wind up getting. I'm sure Xirtanul has Death Mountain well in his mind after picking up the lantern, glove, and hookshot combination. Only a compass in the big chest in Eastern, so he's going to go on to the big key chest, which, as we mentioned, is in sequence now that we have the lamp. Fairly common chest for runners to go for either way, whether it's in sequence at the moment or not.
Yeah, definitely. So earlier they could have sequence broke to the mountain, and having the hook shot, they would have been able to do a lot of quick checks. But part of the issue is that you can assume that the seed is wanting you to go in that direction, but then you might be missing something for the mountain itself. So we did find Lantern in Eastern. Now, if they found Hammer, that means full Hera access too. So if you could take the gamble of going to the mountain early and hoping to find your worth there, or you can do, again, kind of like these little quick checks and make your mountain visit when you do go a lot more worthwhile. Unfortunately, only finding a shield, so no hammer.
Yeah, that would have been a perfect example to have him pick up the hammer as you were talking about why it would have been good to keep doing these little checks.
Yeah, it would have been the dream. But maybe old man will have her hammer.
That may be. It's always a possibility. He was trying to fix up the cave, perhaps, and wasn't making the repairs as necessary. Although the old man doesn't have the lantern, so it's kind of difficult to make those repairs in the dark. Best to just take him home, I guess.
Yep, definitely. And so yeah, we do see Xirtanul now going up to Death Mountain.
I mean, at this point, that's got to be the play. Not quite having 500 rupees, even though King Zora would be in sequence thanks to the Power Glove. Definitely the best choice out of what's limited at this point.
Yeah, it's for Zora. If you're doing that area, you kind of want to try and maximize as much as you do when you're there. And so in Eastern, you could try and grab more rupees and whatnot, but no Moon Pearl, no boots, can't really properly do Waterfall Cave or a lot of the sequence breaks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being an area that has multiple locations, thanks to the addition of the Waterfall area having two, it's not something that you want to go to only for one of those four items.
Yeah, back when it was the ultimate life lesson. And it's definitely good those two chests got added though. Then you feel less bad for going all the way there.
Yeah, definitely. Adds a lot more value. Even if you don't get anything, it just feels like a better check. Because you're checking multiple things instead of just a 50-50 if you don't have the flippers.
Yeah, make all your way to Zora just for him to give you the 20 rupee.
I mean, yeah, that charm wore off pretty quickly.
Now it's this catfish that really trolls.
Yeah, but at least Catfish doesn't rob you blind.
And this is true. It just robs my time.
And time is important. Especially in these races.
Yeah. So this is Xirtanul and Paradox here. Finds a heart container and a mirror shield, so bye-bye Vivi.
That's amazing. That's got to be the earliest that I've seen all 3 shields.
It's pretty good. It kind of goes a little bit understated, but the shield actually does play into the logic in terms of the laser bridge. The game expects you to be able to get through that without taking damage. Normally you can do something like Burna or a cape, or even just tank the damage and not care, but logically it is required. We find the mirror. So we do have Hera access, so getting that lantern might really come into play here.
Oof. Just a little bit out of position for Zerd. He'll head right back upstairs and try that again.
Yeah, the good way to set this bomb jump is to figure out your Y coordinate first. Try and get as close to the bottom as you can with a few pixel tolerant, probably like three or 4. And then when you figure out your X coordinate going to the left edge, the game will actually create a barrier for you. So you won't actually fall tapping left. If you tap it, it'll push you down a little bit too. So you don't even have to be as close to the southern edge as you might think.
Yeah, it's nice to have that flexibility with that bomb jump specifically.
Yeah, definitely some good bomb jumps to learn. I know, I believe you and GamerCal really worked on the Spectacle Rock bomb jump.
Oh, that was so much fun.
It doesn't come into play, but it's I think that's actually the furthest bomb jump in the entire game because you clip into the wall a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. I believe the explanation on the Spectacle Rock bomb jump from Scudge is that because you're kind of sort of in the wall, the game thinks that there's land behind you, and it lets you go a little bit further. So that's actually a 3-tile gap. You know, normally the longest that you can do is a 2-tile gap.
Yeah, what's kind of funny too is that if you try to get too close to the edge, you'll actually fail the bomb jump, and it has really large tolerance. Otherwise, I think it's a 4 or 5 pixel tolerance for how close to the edge you can be. So as long as you get that X coordinate, then you can just hold backwards and pretty much do a walking bomb placement.
So fairly interesting to note that with the, granted, yes, Tower of Hera is a green pendant, but Xirtanul having the mirror and the lantern would have been able to full clear it. Although, actually, you know what? I'm going to stop myself right there, because not having the same inventory as Zaen would not presently have a way to defeat Maldorn.
Yeah,
So
it's kind of
coming back here first, because there's the sword, and now he could go back up if he wants to.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. He's gonna finish Escape here, it looks like, but that was really the crux of the decision of not going back up. Thankfully, he would have to use Save and Quit to go to the mountain anyway, so now he's just kind of going for a quick few checks probably before going to it. But yeah, that's something that Zaen will have on him. He will have the mirror, he will have the weapon, so you can just Save and Quit and then go straight to Hera.
So I suppose, speaking to your hammer example earlier, the sword is the item that could substitute it for that little scenario. And Zaen has that little bit of an advantage at that point then.
Yeah, this is true. In terms of Dark World, we're looking for either a way to get to Agnum or and then hammer or a glove upgrade. So you might still find it before too long here. But yeah, having a weapon is necessary for Moldorm. And hammer is actually a much better weapon too. It's a little bit more unwieldy, but
Xirtanul just leaving that key behind a couple rooms ago, realizing he doesn't need it since he's already checked the back end. So no more keys necessary for him. He'll get a drop from this next blue guard in order to get to Zelda's dungeon.
yeah. And something really beneficial here too is that he has a mirror, so he actually won't need to death warp. You can just mirror out, and then with the lantern, the dark room's in logic too. So the dark room could have a lot of worth.
Yeah, so he'll just take out the entirety of the escape at this point.
Yeah, I mean, going to the mountain, that could have been a bit of a red herring, because all we found was the mirror, but the mirror might not actually be the immediate breadcrumb to find.
Might not be, but we'll see. We'll throw one pot at the ball and chain guard, get hit a couple of times, and then finish him off. He's got that mirror ready, just for a couple of bombs in Zelda's cell. But that is probably the most convenient point in the game to be able to use that mirror, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd say the mirror in escape right there. The mirror after 4 items and thieves if it's pen and dungeon. And then pod. Pod as a dungeon itself is like the mirror dungeon.
That's true. You'll readily use that, I don't know, 3 to 4, maybe 5 times, depending on how you route it.
Yeah, and also depending on the key placement, but it's something that's really cute about this game is that a lot of the dungeons have kind of like their niche little thing that they need. And yeah, pod being the mirror.
Oh, just 10 arrows in the sewer chest. So escape, not quite the right play, but very, very good to check nice and early on, just get it done. Early on, it doesn't matter so much to take time and go and check these locations. The sewer chest a little bit further out of the way, but still perfectly logical for what Xirtanul has at this point.
Yeah, a lot of the time you might not have a lantern, so that part wouldn't be in logic. And then you're looking at the first 3 chests in the front of escape, and then not having the map, it's only 2. So it's, for the time invested, it's definitely not as worthwhile. Sphere 0 location, so if there could be something like the ice rod or whichever, and of course you're never sure if your opponent went to go check it too.
Mm-hmm.
It has it out of the way, doesn't have to worry. And now he's gonna go to Hera.
Nice, finding the boots in the map chest. That's the good. Bad news is tile room for everybody today. Which, in truth, I think this is my preference. If you're gonna have to do the tile room, it's better that everybody has to do it. It's not a gamble at this point. You know you're gonna find the big key here.
That was really sick from Zaen.
The boom dash?
Yeah, there's like 2 different ways you can do it. I do it the different way, but Zaen did it like the cool way. Like throw diagonally and go.
Either which way? I think they boomerang dashes look incredible.
Yeah, and especially if you practice the speedrun, that directly comes in handy right in this tower, and having the blue boomerang. Can light these torches, mirror out, and then do another boomerang dash as necessary. I was gonna say make sure you got it first. Yeah, so good tolerance from both of them. And something people might not be aware of, when you pick up a pot or a bush, you move a little bit slower. But if you actually walk near an edge, you'll go normal speed. So if you've seen people do the hammer jump or even the beetle room in the speedrun, they'll hold the pot and then they'll kind of graze the edge a little bit.
Oh my.
Hey, so who wants to do Aghanim?
I was actually going to say, it's really interesting that you find a sword here because of the way that I misspoke earlier. Wondering why Xirtanul didn't come here first. It turns out that would have worked out, oddly enough. But yeah, that does put Aghanim perfectly in the logic. You're right about that.
A little bit of cruel irony, but having the Master is good too. The charge spin will do tempered damage, and that means 3 spins, hold arms down. He won't go into the range mode.
Yeah, it's very interesting that the Master Sword, of course, stronger than Fighter. If you do normal slashes on Moldorm, it still takes 6 hits. But the spins, it only takes 3, just like a normal tempered slash. Just
yeah, there's some funny things like that in the game too.
So what do you think? Do we turn in the green pendant first, or do we head straight to Aghanim? Well, we have Bonk Rocks, too, as well.
Yeah, I think Aghanim will still be the choice, but really, without that pearl, you're kind of hoping that the pearl is on the pyramid. I think Aghanim probably will be what they need to do, but it's really contingent on that pearl.
Yeah, that's true. Even if we were to find the hammer, well, there. Okay, there's the moon pearl, so that answers that. That makes Aghanim look like an infinitely better play.
Yeah, and having the hook shot, you have the glove and the hook shot, so you can get to West Dark World. So I think Aghanim's play here, and Zaen seems to be picking up on it. Or not. He's going to train that pendant. I mean, there still could be the hammer. You're gambling that the hammer isn't in this light world area, and if you do find it, it's really huge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little partial to doing Aghanim quickly now, because in the wild card race, I didn't want to fall for the Agabate, and that cost me a group, a spot in groups, and then I tilted, and I died on the in Skullwoods then too. But Zaen finding tempers, so if he does go Dark World, it will be very good for him.
Got quite the arsenal for it then. And now Zane's going to make the Aghanim play. I think the only other check that Zaen could do right now would be Zora, and nobody wants to do that. So let's just go straight to Aghanim's tower. But yeah, sometimes it's hard to measure when you should or shouldn't take that Aghanim bait. I think my general rule of thumb has been, if you have the means to do the tower and the hook shot and the moon pearl, just go do it, because West Dark World hookshotting across the river just opens up so much.
Yeah, and even though have a green pen and can turn it in, they did have a mirror too. So if they wanted to go to even just pod area and check if it's bow locked or something like that, they did have the option of mirroring and also cashing in the pendant at the same time.
That's true.
Yeah, the hookshot West Death Mountain have a lot of overworld and dungeon potential.
Yeah, but it's just that dilemma in your mind of, I just need this one more item. I just need one more item. Let me go try to find it. And maybe that's what Xirtanul is hoping to do right now. Because we have not seen Agha's cave yet, and Zaen might actually be going to Zora. We might be seeing a fake flipper, just a hurt piece from the desert cave.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like Aga Tower. It definitely takes some time, but it's one of the funner towers to execute, in my opinion. Just given, some of the speedrun and some of the tech that you can do. Have the boots, have tempered sword. Don't have the bow, but you can still make very quick work of the tower. It's not necessarily a fun thing to do, but the longer you put it off, the more you're checking these little one-off locations. It starts to compromise any of the time save you would have had. In my race against Willard, he did Aghanim, but I went to Hera and found the Power Glove, which gave me Dark World. But that only caught me up to him at that point.
I think I remember that one. Well, wasn't there a medallion in Tower of Hera in that one too, that you guys needed?
Yeah, I think so. Or it was Escape or something. I don't remember. And then Fire Rod was in Mire, and he skipped the Mire chest. It was just terrible for Willard. I'm like, man, I played poorly, but I got bailed out so hard because of him.
So we have an arrow upgrade and a heart piece, which of course filled a heart container for Zaen, which put him back into the flipper state, swimming around on solid land. Always fun to see. Xirtanul making the play, heading up to Aghanim's tower, heading up through it rather. Which, yeah, as you're mentioning, execution-wise, the more that I've gone through Aghanim's tower, the more I realize, it's really just not that bad. It's one of those things you want to put off, kind of like needing to full clear swamp, except that this one actually isn't that obnoxious to do.
Yeah, and just real quick, Zaen lining up that edge there, and you're able to dash all the way across. I've seen some people kind of get cold feet when they line up that dash, but if you do that, you will never touch anything. So it's very convenient with the boots, and finds the ice rod on the ledge, so has knowledge advantage here. When he went for the sequence break, which is kind of interesting, the pearl and the boots both gave different types of water walking. So trying to make use of that, but for a sequence break, I think the main item you'd only be looking for at that point is something like the flute for mobility. The sequence break can come in handy because if you find boots or mirror or something, it can make traversing a lot simpler. But yeah, he's now heading up Aga Tower, which is gonna be good for him at this point.
You are just a wealth of knowledge, aren't you?
Well, I mean, I watch a lot, Rando.
And you know your stuff, there's no doubt.
Well, thank you. I try. It's always learning. Fun to learn.
Oh,
I think one of the goals in life is to be the best that you can be. Not the best compared to others, but to reach your own kind of aptitude. If you compare yourself to others, you're always going to be disappointed because it's always a bigger fish. The point isn't to be able to paint like Michelangelo or whichever. It's to make those stick figure drawings the best that you can do. Because that is all I can do in terms of art.
Wow. This just got deeper than the Ice Palace, folks. Words of wisdom, no more life lessons from Zora. Well said.
Thank you.
So, Xirtanul going through Aghanim in this first lightning phase. And I'm not sure how many blue balls he's had at this point. I actually wasn't even paying attention to that for the moment. So chat, what item do you think is going to be on the pyramid? Or is it going to be totally unimportant and we have to go with the aforementioned hookshot across the river route?
I want to say medallion.
Okay, let's narrow that down even further then. Which one?
Oh, I'm tempted to say bombos, but I'm also kind of feeling... Oh no, it's really hard to say. Either? But it's Quake.
Try the other one.
I was thinking Quake too, and I'm like, wait, well, bombos is good, Ether. And I thought Quake in the back of my head. I'm like, oh, well, I should just stick to whichever. So I was like... I mean, you could tell in my voice I wasn't really feeling bombos or either.
No, you don't second guess yourself, I guess. You would have been more confident.
Dude, I always
Quake
second guess
away.
it. That is how I get burned in this game so bad. I'm like, everything is going so well until it's not anymore. It's pretty much my story.
We'll take a gander up at the catfish, see if he's got anything worthwhile. The free robber, he's not going to take any money.
Yeah,
But-
if we're lucky, he'll give a flute so we can go get a gander.
Well, there's a lot of... Well, I guess that's not an item that we're really lucky to see. Catfish just professing a quarter of his love to Xirtanul. But nice check. Good to head up there straight away before hookshotting across, because at this point, that Hyrule Castle gate is the only accessible portal to the Dark World. Not counting the one that's up on top of Death Mountain, of course, because that doesn't actually get you anywhere else. So better to do these things now than have to potentially save and quit and go through that gate again just to get to Catfish.
Yeah, it's also the line of thinking that a lot of these locations might have like a 4.6% chance of finding an item. And if you go to this one location, even though it might seem a little far off, if it gives you something, that'll give you a direct advantage. You look at Ben in the tournament, and one reason why he's done really well is that a lot of people might leave Pyramid for a while, but he'll check Pyramid early. Or you won't have Pearl, and you won't have money for Zora, so you don't sequence break to Hobo, but he will do it. And then if you find something, you find something. If you don't, you don't. But it's kind of like a little mini gamble location. Sacrificing a little bit of time for a potential edge over your opponent. Zaen also checking Catfish. It just makes a lot of sense because they have the boots, can get back, and hook shot right across. Catfish is really awkward to route in, and considering he's already checked the Zora area, it makes sense to just kind of get this whole portion of the world out of the way.
And Zaen wants nothing to do with that heart piece either. 11 hearts at this point in Blue Mail, I can't necessarily blame either choice.
No, definitely. By the way, I don't think we've gotten a Dark World check yet either.
That is also correct. So that'll be a curiosity. Zaen having the advantage knowing where Ice Rod is. If Turtle Rock is a pendant, That's one less place that he knows he has to go back for.
Oh, that's so cute. If you look at Aghanim on the tracker, he's just ripped.
Dead.
I mean, it's like a cute touch. I don't think, like, yeah.
Xirtanul making his check into the lumberjack cave. It's only rupees, as we know. So, gonna say nope to that. Get right back into the dark world.
Yeah, it's very smart of him, though. Making use of the mirror, making use of the boots.
We did have a map check there.
Yeah.
I was a little too quick for me to notice everything on it.
I saw a crystal in the southern portion.
So we have the Pyramid Fairy crystals at Palace of Darkness and the Swamp Palace. And Turtle Rock is a crystal, so I would assume then that Ice Rod is going to be necessary. Thieves Town and Skull Woods for the other pendants.
Yeah, it'd be fun to see Samaria and access to early Turtle Rock. And you have to dip it without the fire rod.
Now, from the get-go on this, knowing that one pendant was in the light world, it always makes you hope that at least one of those other two pendants is going to be Turtle Rock or Misery Mire or Ice Palace. We have the whole shebang today. We have crystals at all of the dungeons that nobody wants to go to.
Yeah. This bomb jump is so rude with that open door. That's why I never do this setup, just because I would mess it up more than I get it right. It's the way that you can set up, but I just, every time I'd wing it, I just get bodied. If you can do the bonk against the wall, it's a 6 pixel tolerance for how close you are and approximate to the gap. But the normal bomb jump's just 2. But if you're whatever you're comfortable with is always the best method.
And that follows the same rules for like the Tower of Hera bomb jump too, right? In terms of how close you have to be to the pit?
Yeah, you can, it's normally 2, and then if you bonk at 6. So you saw Zaen, he was actually very far away from the gap, and then cleared it every time. Yeah, I think only really, like, the bomb jump that you and GamerCal worked on is different. Again, if you're too close to the edge, it'll actually fail.
Yeah, that one's just very, very peculiar. That's really all there is to say about it. It's a very tight window of where you can actually stand to make the Spectacle Rock bomb jump work. But we know that we have both items out of the Skull Woods dungeon. Zaen is still... No, Zaen has both of them, I think. No, did he not go in that way? He may not have. So either which way, Xirtanul going through the Village of Outcasts, possibly about to enter Thieves? Definitely about to enter Thieves. Another pendant, so maybe we'll see a first 4 check. We may not see... Well, on the flip side of this, it may not be such a bad idea to full clear the dungeon. There are a number of items required, of course, because of Ice Palace, Misery Mire, and Turtle Rock. It's basically almost every item is going to be required at some point. The other pendant dungeons, including Thieves Town, don't require much. Tower of Hera's already done. Skull Woods is only going to require the Fire Rod. And I'm sure chat can figure out where I'm going with that, but that leaves a lot of potential for a certain item to be a certain somewhere.
Yeah, I think the main thing here is that you're only really looking at Thieves Town and Pod. Pod is looking really good right now, but because we don't have Hammer, we don't have a proper way into the Dark World, so you could go for a southern overworld, bit of a tour, but you're risking the fact that you'll have to go back into the Aghanim portal to go all the way back to Thieves Town. So it's kind of like while you're here, and especially if you're not finding anything worth, it's probably best to just continue through. It's kind of a little unfortunate because it's a pendant, and you do have the mirrors. So it's like, oh, the first 4 would be a good check. But it's mostly the convenience of having to come back in the event it has something. Because we're pretty well poised to find flippers, Hammer, and that would give us Swamp, that would give us more of Pod, that would give us, set up for other dungeons too.
And that would also give us a God Pixel by Xirtanul through that Hellway. Beautiful! It's been straight up the middle.
Yeah, it's definitely good. Sometimes RNG doesn't allow for that to happen, but when you're dashing, you move at 4 pixels per frame. So when you stay inside the doorway, it's just perfectly lining you up for that middle pixel. And there is our flippers.
There it is. Finger webs, the blue shoe. You know, one problem that this game has, though.
Those. The water boots.
Water those. I get it.
It's like Futurama, I get it. Introducing Mom. Oh, now I get it. I've seen that shown forever. It's very funny. At least the first 4 seasons.
So yeah, I mean, certainly a better play or certainly the right play in this case than to keep going through Thieves Town.
Yeah, definitely. That was very smart of Zaen. He didn't get the pixel. He walked out of the room and got really close to it. But then you can still walk into the spike trap or bonk against the wall, and it'll line you up back into the pixel. So that's what he did, and he actually got to do the rest of the hallway perfectly in the center.
Nice. I've seen something similar in the moving floor room in the Ice Palace.
Yeah, in the speedrun, if you have full health, you can fire magic beams, kill the jelly, and then you bonk against, well, I don't bonk, but you walk into the spike trap, which will line you up in the center, and then you can go through. And I guess while we're talking about damage, the way the propulsion works from getting hurt is the direct opposite of the input that you're holding. So a lot of people, when they will be fighting Ganon, and they get hit by the fire bat, because they're so apprehensive about falling into the pit, they hold away, which actually pushes them forward towards the pit. When you think about when you're walking into, well, hello, flute.
Convenient spot, if I would say so. Just mirror now at this point and activate it.
Yeah, it's definitely logical to stay here. Again, just to finish at that point. Normally when you're playing and you walk into an enemy, you're holding forward and then you get pushed back. And so it's kind of natural in that situation where you're just holding forward and you're just kind of face tanking. But again, of course, you have the natural apprehension. So a lot of people get confused by that and they rage and they think Ganon's like totally broken. This is the way damage and collision propulsion works.
I did not know that.
Yeah, you can actually walk into something and then quickly change your input and like you'll fling yourself forward or like to the left or right.
Good to know. Of course, execution all around being a big part of the randomizer. The way that the game mechanics work and how to do things. Always good to know and good to learn. And there's always new things about this game being discovered. Little tips and tricks here and there. It's really amazing. So we'll see what's at the digging game. See how many digs it's going to take us. How many fake digs it's going to take us.
Yeah, Xirtanul going for a more optimal pattern. I think there's only really 2 main ways to do it based on your glove, because then you can lift up the rock and kind of push the item towards the screen transition. But it's only low frames. Sometimes people like to have their fun, creative dig methods. Some of those low things where it can be kind of fun to see the runner and their own creative take and what they like to do. But yeah, not to, I feel like I've already been discussing a lot, but yeah, execution, always good. Randomizer, so you can change. You can make the right play, the logical play, and it won't work out for you. Execution is one thing you always control. It's your input affecting the output. So that's one variable that you can always control in terms of input, which will maximize your output or your result in a random race. Mr. DT, are you ready for some hype cave?
No. But I guess I don't have a choice, do I?
Don't think we'll find our bow? Oh, well, I'm sorry. I tried to get that in sooner, but I was late. I'm pretty sure Like, I was thinking, well, we find hammer in pod and we'll find bow on the way. That's so funny. Please don't burn me.
Right now.
I'm getting birthday luck. I promise.
Let's just call it that, I guess. Wow. Like, I want to talk. I want to say something. I don't know what to say about this at this point. Is Xirtanul making a... Well, that's what I'll say then. Is Xirtanul making a check on the first chest of Swamp?
And this is a gamble. Going into pod, the main thing for me, personally, for not going to pod, is to have the lantern. Because it locks the latter portion of the dungeon. It's 5 chests that the lantern's locking. The bow is locking, what is it, 2? So the bow is actually not that big of a deal to not have going into a dungeon. You want to have the bow. The hammer is least inoffensive, but lantern's the big one. So having the lantern and the bow, I think it'd be best to just go into pod. And you still need to find the big key anyway. So even if you don't have a hammer, it's a pretty quick return.
So at this point, we might be seeing our first real route divergence. Xirtanul's not going to be in Swamp Palace for much longer, of course, unless we find the hammer in this chest, which would just be crazy. But no, just the compass. So he knows that he'll mirror straight out. Zaen looks like he's actually heading to the Palace of Darkness, and I'll be very curious to see where Xirtanul will be going afterward. He's going to flute, but now that he's back in the light world, he's going to 8. Alright, he hasn't done Ice Rod Cave, hasn't done the Zora stuff. Yeah. Good idea, good play at this point for Xirtanul.
Yeah, he might be thinking that he's supposed to have like the hammer at this point, and of course leaving these locations, they'll kind of eat up at you. Zaen, not to detract, making good use of his mirror to check Hobro here before I assume going into pod.
Yeah, that's efficient routing at its most efficient, as I'm going to say.
Yeah, it won Kransoon a race going into Grand Finals. AA did not route that in. He never saw the island check. Kransoon routed it on the way to pod. Turned out to be the Ether Medallion, I believe, and that won him the game. Not counting like execution and a bunch of little things, but that one decision was enough to force AA to do things like a full Ice Palace clear and other stuff. So it's definitely good. Routing really does matter, maximizing your efficiency. So this is Xirtanul kind of doing some of the checks that Zaen did. And so for a long time, he was kind of leading the Dark World, just kind of progression. I don't know, I was thinking of a different word, but Zaen going into pod. So we're going to see what he gets here. Xirtanul will get his Ice Rod, so Zaen will have to come back anyway.
That's true. That'll be a one-stop for Xirtanul in this case.
Yep, and pod indeed being bow-locked, but having the Fire Rod now.
Wow. That's an okay trade-off in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. And then you can go get your hammer and skull. And that's pretty cute there too. The game only loads one overworld sprite at a time, so it's Xirtanul getting the 20 rupees from Zora, not picking it up, meant that when he went to the Ice Rod it looked like 20 until he picked it up.
Every now and then that completely trips me up. Like, I know that that's going to happen, and sometimes it's actually pretty funny to see it, because depending on what it is, the sprite can be kind of glitched.
Yeah, I saw it a long time ago, someone did it, and I'm like, that is really weird. That's kind of just a cute observation. Those guards right before the Aga portal were green, red, and blue. So kind of matching the color scheme. But their powers combined cannot take down Xirtanul as he enters the Dark World portal, checks Hobro, and hopefully goes into pod. I assume he will.
I would fully suspect that at this point. These two runners have been covering a lot of the same ground. They're both, of course, at the top of the secondary tournament. This is the finals for it. We would really expect nothing less from them. They're here for a reason.
Yeah, definitely. And chat already getting really antsy regarding the pedestal being completable. And so you may see them go to Skullwoods, and then having the mirror, but not the book, cannot do a pedestal check. But it's definitely on the table now.
Not a check, no. So if it comes down to that, if we find nothing through the remainder of the Palace of Darkness, could be blind pulls all around.
Yeah, I think at this point, just given the way the seat's gone, it's reasonable to believe that both parties would have pennant. And Skullwood's 2 items got the fire rod, so you're thinking, well, if you're following the breadcrumbs, there's a decent chance they might have something. This is assuming we don't find gloves or a hammer, or, well, more so gloves along the way.
Yeah, it's debatable which item would be more beneficial at this point, but I would have to lean toward the gloves myself over the hammer. Or, you know, who knows, maybe we'll just find the book, and then that could lead us to all sorts of other fun things.
Yeah, so desert being open. So Skullwoods might get put off a little bit longer, but yeah, the hammer would really open up Swamp Palace, but the glove would kind of open up like Mire, and now desert's not really an issue since they got the book.
Mm-hmm. So interesting then, we have options. We have numerous options either. Both tablets. Desert, of course, as mentioned a moment ago. There's the magic powder, so that is not even in the sequence yet for the magic bat, because without the hammer or the Titan's mitts, we cannot get to that cave.
Yeah, this is true. Look at the mirror. For Batcave?
You just can't get there without the Titan's mitts. Because you still have those 2 heavy rocks in the way.
Oh, right.
So we'll see a Desert Palace play. Great idea at this point. One of the only ideas. I guess being great by default in this case still makes it great. The crystal, yes. We have all the necessary means to beat it, full clear it. Even if there's something on the torch, we have the boots.
Yeah, it's definitely the more safer play, because you're going for a crystal, 2 items, and you know, again, it's even if it doesn't have anything, you're still kind of pushing towards your end goal. Mm-hmm. But it's when
wow.
and finding the Titans, yeah.
So that's 1 of 2. That's value right there. And you know, I was just going to ask your opinion too. Is this going to be a seed that keeps on bottlenecking us, sending us 1 item at a time from place to place? Or would there actually be something on the pedestal and a need to go clear Skullwoods? But at this point, we have many directions. Up, left, right, and down. Doesn't really make a difference at this point.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant to say, but I want to say no for the pedestal unless it happens to have bombos. And that's assuming bombos will be required. But yeah, hammer and Skullwoods looking a little bit less likely now. We'll see though. That's really what they're looking for at this moment. So they have the flippers. They can get the ice rod. They need Canson Maria and hammer. So you could end up seeing a situation where hammer is actually in Mire.
That could be. We're still looking for item number 2.
It is curious though. So we have the book, so we could actually check the pedestal. But having the fire rod, Xirtanul might decide to go for Skullwoods and then just get that pennant. You can go straight to the back, 2 items, so it's still good. Can get the pennant and then do the ped pull. Again, desert being the safer play, so it, you know, I would say the more logical one. But in tournament, you never know, right?
I suppose not. I mean, even outside of the tournament, it's randomizer. You just never know at all.
Yep, I just wake up, turn on the seat, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Oh, there's an idea.
Why am I here?
We did not see Zaen do this. Xirtanul's just going to mirror straight out and finish off Eastern Palace right now. Why not?
Yeah, it's definitely good to get the crystal, but we'll have to see. Did we get all 3 items?
I don't know. Actually, I think we did. Because there were 2 shields in here, and probably something else. And the lamp.
Yeah, the lamp.
2 shields and the lamp.
It's a bit of an interesting decision. Sometimes as a runner, you can get a little bit flummoxed in what your approach should be. And so a quick way to give yourself time to think and try and recenter is to do a crystal dungeon like this to just get out of the way. Of course, ideally, if you had the hammer, he could have mirrored and kind of compounded the 2 together.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be a little bit of a time loss in that event, but still trying to get that time to think. Definitely always good.
So we'll see what's next for Zaen after a nice Landmo fight. Straight back flute to 6, and let's check out what Misery Myers got for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see what medallion we even need to get in. It could be Bombos. We may not even be able to get in. It looked like Bombos.
Burn him! Burn him! No, just kidding. But so now, yeah, that really limits things down.
Nothing in the Myers shed either.
Yeah, so Skull actually looking a lot better. Again, if Hammer is in the Skull and Bombos is on the tablet, like, I think I just need to step away.
I believe they got both items from Skullwoods at this point.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I'm
pack of bombs and a heart piece.
Okay, well, pestle. I still have the pestle hook.
And you know what? At this point, well, you've got Titan's Mitts, you've got Hookshot. Dark Death Mountain might be a. Actually, there's a lot that's open still. Before I think they might head to. Wow, getting ahead of myself, I guess. Even most of Ice Palace.
I was just really hoping.
You know, it's not dead. The dream is not dead. Because yeah, let's think about it. We could still have Somaria, Bombos, or the hammer.
Yeah, hammerless Ice Palace though.
Do you really want to do that? I mean, full clear the dungeon? Well, almost. You can't even full clear it. Because Cold Stare is not the only thing that's blocked by the hammer.
Yeah, I'd say hammerless Ice Palace is probably like one of the grossest dungeons you can do.
There are, I believe, three chests in total that you can't get without the hammer. Well, 3 locations, I should say, because Cold Stare is not exactly a chest. Can you imagine? It's just like 3. No, never mind.
Well, they have a lot of eyeball monsters, so a chest monster that's also an eyeball.
Like, treasure chest monster
seem unlikely to me.
And the worst kind of chest monster is the one that you wouldn't even be able to open. Items inside that you can never get.
Yeah, this is taunting. Yeah, the same picking up his ice right here. So this would be good. But yeah, and then Dark Death Mountain, very appealing. Ice Palace kind of on the table. But yeah, this is that hammer. That hammer is really blocking them at the moment. Could see something where we'll find the hammer on the mountain, and then Samarian ice, and then just looking for that Bombos or whichever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Lot on the table. A lot left in the air.
And having the Titan's Mitts, that also fully opens the blacksmith quest. I almost said lumberjack. For some reason, I always go between lumberjack and blacksmith as if they're the same thing, which I don't think they are, last I checked. But that's accessible, including the magic bat. The only thing they wouldn't be able to do there, of course, is hammer pegs. So options are still not terribly limited. They're getting there for Zaen. It's only got a couple more things that he could potentially check.
Yeah, unfortunately for Xirtanul, he knows that the hammer is not in Swamp. So he'll have that knowledge advantage going in. So it could make certain plays a little bit more appealing, just on the fact that he knows it's not going to be there. Yeah, it's getting to the point where they're really starting to be ball-necked.
So it's just a matter of which choice is going to be the one that works. Super Bunny Cave having 10 arrows and 50 rupees.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with this check, though. The big thing, too, is getting information on the Turok medallion. Because if you don't have the medallion for Meyer, but you do have the one for Turok, and then you find Samaria, it could mean that, you know, you just get your Samaria cane from Hookshot, and then you go straight in, or something like that.
Almost, anyway. They'll still need the hammer as well to activate that portal on top in the light world.
Oh, that's true.
So Turtle Rock is pretty slim pickings at the moment.
Then just need to find both in here, no worries.
Well, now they've got a very little chance of that. Nope, well, they're certainly not finding both of them in the one chest. So let's see, is Zaen going to head back out and mirror and flute away somewhere, or will he remember about the ether tablet? And it looks like yes.
Spike Cave and Ether Tablet, although it's not actually in the logic in terms of safety item.
I can never remember if one of the safety requirements for Spike Cave is a bottle, or if you actually have to have some combination of Burna and the cape.
Yeah, I think a bottle is expected in the logic. So I remember hearing about that the other day. I only operate in terms of safety, but...
There's Samaria, though.
So, kind of got my wish, just need the hammer.
Right mountain, slightly off location. Yeah, you know, we'll give it to you, though.
No, it's okay. I already did good.
You did great. And yeah, it looks like Zane's gonna head straight into this.
Yeah, definitely an interesting choice, but...
Except...
Oh.
It is closed for a reason that I wasn't even thinking of. We need the hammer there, too.
That's the problem. You kind of take the hammer for granted, but it really does ball neck you really hard. And it's not even going to be like a hammer on Pyramid Fairy Troll. Because you need it to beat Skullwoods. Or
you see what
Swamp Palace.
You see what Xirtanul's doing, though?
Oh, yeah? I think he might be checking the pedestal.
I fully suspect that, yeah. Well, it's got me curious. There's still 2 things that could be here. I mean, if you really wanted to get into it, Mushroom or the Shovel could take you somewhere as well, but ultimately leading to 2 items. Let's see what's on our pedestal today. Not what we're looking for, so what is our option then? Ice Palace. And
Bombos Tablet to hopefully get Bombos.
That would actually be pretty neat. That would fully open up Misery Maya right now, too. Since we have Kane.
Yeah. And I do have some Dark World, thanks to the glove, but just pretty much the smith here. No hammer peg.
Yeah,
now I can mirror and check that, make use of that powder.
Yeah, still a very worthwhile area to go through. Hoping, too, that Zaen remembers that without the hammer, he should walk the purple chest down instead of mirroring and fluting. That way he is able to check the Bombos tablet.
Yeah, and I forgot. I think Xirtanul checked it, but did Zaen check on the Mirror Cave?
Yes. Well, someone did. Maybe 2 someones, I'm actually not sure. You know, I suppose this is a bit of a conundrum anyway, because now that Zane's in the light world, he can't actually get back to that portal that he just left, since he doesn't have the hammer. Unless for some silly reason it's right here. That would be odd.
Well, now I can.
Good night, folks. I'm out of here. Forever.
Feels Batman.
So now we can get back to that portal.
Why are you still carrying that purple chest? Ditch it and go. Go, go, go. No, I'm just kidding. Can still, can now get the portal. And can now check Bombos. And, hammer
pegs. Woo, hammer pegs, let's go. You know, I think the hammer dash was the very first item dash animation that I ever saw with this game about 1.5 years ago or thereabouts, and I just about fell off my floor laughing at it. Fell off my chair onto the floor laughing at it. It was really, really funny to see. Still the best animation in the game. Still the best sound effect going over those pegs. It is just so satisfying.
Yeah, it's definitely very fun. It's kind of like ASMR hammer dashing. And just something soothing.
Did Xirtanul not...
Mountain.
What happened that Xirtanul didn't get the hammer?
Nope.
Chad is saying that he jumped over the hole. I missed that. Wow, how does that even happen? I thought that was like purely fixed and just fine no matter what.
Let's see the exchange. Yeah, there's a lot going on between Zinket and the hammer, between the little narrative there, but yeah, wow. It's no bueno.
But we'll get our Bombos tablet check. And if this is vanilla Bombos, then that'll be something special.
That'd be wonderful.
Unfortunately for Xirtanul, though, missing that jump into the hole is going to send him in all sorts of other directions, away from the hammer. But finding the red mail at the Bombos tablet, not a bad thing, not too shabby. And we'll see Zaen enter the Swamp Palace now as well. And only looking for one item, and knowing what medallion he's looking for at this point, because he's seen both locations. I would think that most runners elect to head straight to Argus when you're only looking for one item, and putting off the left side until absolutely necessary.
Yeah, and the hammer does also unlock Pyramid Fairy now too, so you could think that maybe Bombos will actually be at Pyramid Fairy. But yeah, have a lot they can do. Can do pod, can do swamp, can do all of ice, can do Chorok. Like the game is now open to them completely.
Can do pretty much everything except for enter Misery Mire. It's amazing that between the hammer and the Titan's Mitts, those two items alone basically open up the entire game.
Yeah, so here's my question. Would you have gone to Swamp, having gotten the hammer?
You know what? With where he was at the moment, completing those checks in the purple chest, I think yes. I think that makes perfect sense. Looking at it objectively, sitting back and watching this, I would think go to Pod first, and then to Swamp. That way you can just go straight to the Pyramid Fairy. But when you're trying to go through this quickly, you're not always processing things. I don't know. I don't know how to phrase that.
That's okay. And it's also kind of that idea where what are you saving and what are you losing in terms of go mode, in terms of full clearing? Because in Chorok, you have the mirror, so you're adding Mimic Cave, and you're adding all of Laser Bridge in terms of a go mode versus a non-go mode.
All right.
So, and then there's left side Swamp, right?
Yes.
And then there's the rest of Ice Palace. So it's kind of like, which dungeon do you really go into? But this is big for Xirtanul. Sorry, I think you're going to comment.
I was just about to say that. Let's see if he can make this jump into the hole this time, and he nails it. And he's going to be happily rewarded.
Den on den.
Da, da, da,
so that'll be good for him.
All right. There was something else I was going to say too. I think also if you're Zaen, you're looking for item density at this point. So going to Swamp Palace makes a lot more sense because Pod is essentially cleared out at this point.
Yeah, like there is the Pyramid Fairy, but it's just, they have so much on the table, and there's so many dungeons for them to do. And like with Chorok, you're pretty much going through, like, it's nice to add it in for the very end, but it also has a huge item density. It has 6 items, and it's pretty much mandatory to go through all of them. Whereas the Swamp, you have the option of skipping. With Ice, you have the option of skipping portions.
Mm-hmm.
And,
well, you want to talk about one person going left and one person going right.
So this is kind of fun. They're both doing the dungeon where you can kind of make or break a lot of time here.
And just looking for one item, it really is a race at this point to see who can find Bombo's medallion first. Xirtanul having a crystal advantage by completing the Eastern Palace. But that's it. That depending on where Bombos is, that lead could still disappear as we get further down this.
Yeah, and kind of a little bit of a cruel twist here. Zaen finding the Cane of Burna, which means with the hammer, Spike Cave is now actually open. So his original inclination to check that might have been correct in terms of intuition, but obviously he's very far removed from it now. If that happened to be Bombos, that would be really unfortunate and slightly funny.
And that was a great job by Zaen getting a lot of those puff kills really, really quickly. I think I know how to do that. I just can't do it and can't even explain it. I just know that it looks amazing. It is one of the coolest strategies for a boss in this entire game.
Yeah, Arius is actually one of the hardest bosses in the game. Not because the boss itself is hard, but it's hard to do it quickly. The trick with that is you're holding the sword out, and pokes do half damage compared to a slash. So the poke of a temper is actually doing the slash of a massive sword. And, the charge is doing double. So the charge of a temper is doing the slash of a butter. So what you're doing is you're holding out the sword, and then you're activating the dash glitch state, where you're hitting Y and A at the same frame. And that will put you into the same state that you do for like spin speed or hook speed. And what that does is it makes the game thinking that you're doing dash damage, which is the same as slash damage. So by holding out the sword, you're doing slash damage, not poke damage. And then it's just a matter of timing the hook shot properly to kind of rapid fire, get the puffs.
Because it is a very specific timing in that, isn't it? Because you can't just keep mashing it. That has clearly never worked for me, anyway.
Yeah, you have to time every hook dash. If you do it too early, I forget what happens if you do it too early or too late, but you might find that you're messing it up in a bunch of ways.
Well, interesting. Xirtanul finding a heart piece in the double Freezor room. Continuing on through the Ice Palace, drops down, and is going to head straight back up and go through the long way to check the, I guess it's like a sideways T, the double jelly room.
Yeah, I've heard some people call it the ice tea room, even though it kind of looks more like the ice hammer, but it's definitely a cute name, so it might have to become somewhat official.
I like the iced tea room. I don't know who coined that, but props to them. That's cool. I mean, I've been on a bit of a Law and Order binge lately too, so the iced tea room fits perfectly.
Yeah, it's definitely a good name. Let's see here again. It's tea-ish, tea enough.
Just a couple of bombs in it.
Yeah, just some blueberries. So we're seeing them both, kind of again doing the full clear check here. And so we're still waiting to see if it pays off for either. But so far, it's not really looking that beneficial for Xirtanul.
Just 10
and
arrows.
We're about to find out for Zaen too shortly.
So one more item to take a look at. 50 rupees.
Yeah, it's the swamp. Kind of what you mentioned. Go mode swamp would have been the good thing to do. And just nopes on out of there. It looks like he's gonna head straight over to Ice Palace. So yeah, I'm still kind of feeling that Turok. But again, still a couple items here in Ice Palace.
It's a dreaded dungeon to have to go through and get up there to. Nobody wants to do it. But the reality is at this point that, including Mimic's Caves, the 6 items that are there, it's not a bad check by any means. If you can get in there, take the minute or so to climb Death Mountain.
Yeah, and it's kind of like what you were saying in item density. Swamp has 6 items, Ice is 3. So if you're thinking purely in numbers, Swamp would be better than Ice. But you have Mimic on Torox, this is also 6, and going through the dungeon, you have to go through, you're not really taking a left side or a right side or, any partitioning in terms of the dungeon. You're pretty much just going through the bulk of the dungeon anyway.
Right.
So the minute that you're spending going up the mountain would be negated by the fact that you're just not really making these extra checks. And if you find the bombos, then that's huge time saves on both of these dungeons. So it's a bit of a judgment call. And Xirtanul, okay, that's good.
So I haven't been counting the number of items from Ice Palace so far. Is Cold Stare going to have an item? Because I think we're set on small keys at this point. We'll find out once he switches to the hammer.
I think he will have an item, but I can't say for sure.
Yep, it looks like it, because we have the map and the compass.
So if he does find bombos here, that'll be huge for Xirtanul, because then he can go mode swamp.
That would put him at quite an advantage. That's a good point.
Yeah, and something I actually also forgot, again, oh, well, Xirtanul has to be careful here, so maybe a moment of, okay, good, he got it, we can talk again.
There it is, oh my!
There it is too, yeah, okay. I was gonna say that Zaen wanted to go to Spike Cave, didn't have the hammer, got the hammer, and also found Burna, so Spike Cave was in the logic too. So you had the 6 items, and then you had Spike Cave. But not a matter, Ice being the play, having bombos.
And not that anybody would have done it in this case, but you could have actually go-moded the Ice Palace if that knowledge was around that the boss was going to have that one item. And with that, Xirtanul and soon-to-be Zaen, we are in go mode. Xirtanul will now be able to quick clear Swamp Palace, go back, finish off Pod, and do a hopefully quick clear of Misery Mire. That's the problem with Misery Mire, though, is finding that big key. You can fairly often still wind up clearing most of the dungeon. And then, of course, Turtle Rock, you're mostly doing a clear anyway, so you can call it a go mode dungeon. But the reality is that you might get to skip a couple of chests on Laser Bridge most of the time.
Yeah, it's really vanilla big key if you get the big key before that. And again, whichever order you get the small key in, depending on the layout, or Laser Bridge. And of course, no Mimic. No Mimic is probably the biggest time save there. But yeah, no, this race is very close. That time save for getting to go mode swamp will really catch the Xirtanul up here. So our races are fairly well met right now. And it's largely just execution from here. And they do have silver, they do have temper, so Ganon won't be a problem.
13 hearts and blue mail, the defenses are good. And while I see it in chat, just to point out and clarify some info, this is a best of 3 series. This is game 1. Game 2 will be right after. I mean, they'll probably take like a 10-minute break or so. And then, if necessary, game 3 will be right after that. So we have a full day of the secondary finals for you guys.
This is best of 3, not best out of 3. It's not like 2 out of 3. It's a 3 out of 5 format. It's a little confused on the wording.
I understood. Or maybe I just misunderstood and that led me to understand.
Rando, yay.
Randomized English.
I think in the last tournament, it was also like 3 of 5.
In
and...
yeah, for the finals, everything leading up to the finals in the spring was 2 out of 3, and then the finals was 3 out of 5. But everything is 2 out of 3 this time around.
Yeah, 2 of 3 is number 1.
There you go. You can tie that right back in.
Got him. So yeah, we're about to have some boss syncage here. So this is pretty cool. Each of them having done the other's dungeon. And Zaen will be entering in a little bit quicker, but does Xirtanul know the super secret awesome puff strategy?
Yeah, we'll find out. I'm excited to see how he's gonna do this. It's not going to be. I think I heard a fun fact once that, optimally anyway, the difference between the spin speed strat and just normal is really only about 6 seconds in total.
Yeah, the main thing is that you want to, if you can't do it perfectly, then you're waiting for the spin cycle of Argus, and then after that, every kind of second or two that you take longer adds to it. And then if you happen to go to another cycle, that like it does add up, but it saves seconds.
And then if you happen to just nail him in the side of the face with Silver Arrow, then, well, all bets are off. You just saved a little bit of time. And with that, we have Swamp Palace completed for Xirtanul, we have Ice Palace completed for Zaen. Zaen is now in go mode, picking up Bombus from Cold Stare. And I guess wanted to see the Swamp one more time, pay it a visit, one last respect. On his way to Misery Mire.
Yeah, it makes sense. Has their items, and they can route in Turok right at Tegan Tower. The classic.
And I think that's generally why people still try to put Turtle Rock off, if they're able to, because it is just so convenient to be right there.
Yeah, and of course, because you get so many items for it so late, you do run into that quite a bit. Getting the Go mode Hera before Gan Tower, more of a rarity.
I think that's only happened to me once. It's an interesting thing when the Tower of Hera can be your 7th crystal, because generally it's something that you have access to fairly early on. But sometimes it just works out that the routing lets you leave it to the last one. Really nice use of the sword beams from Zaen to clear that Mire 2 room. Really nice attempt of the Samaria block.
Yeah, that was very,
cool.
very cute strategy.
That is not something that you can do in vanilla, because of course you do not have that right there in vanilla.
Yeah, and Xirtanul is playing as a wizard, so using some magic blocks, trying to take out the room.
So it's really just a game of where's the big key going to be in Misery Mire. We know it's not on the bridge. These two runners are on each other's heels through this dungeon. Ignore the fact for a moment that Xirtanul has 1 extra crystal from Zaen. It's really, really cool to see the sync of them between this dungeon. There's the big key, so we have a very, very quick Misery Mire.
Yeah, always good to get the Go mode Misery Mire. But yeah, for me, one thing I really enjoy is, again, kind of irregardless of crystal placement, is to watch 2 players in the same proximate area, because you get to see the little movements, the little nuance really measured up side by side. It's kind of like the tug of war between, pulling ahead or, pulling behind a little bit.
Nice cane dash by Zaen.
Yeah, unfortunately he didn't hit the switch, so he's going to have to go hit it again.
Yep. That was a great strategy, but
yeah,
sometimes having that quick Misery Mire can throw off your perception on that for just a moment.
Yeah, he's definitely showing us some good execution here. And it's a very fun dash to do, but did not hit the switch earlier, so it was not necessary. I've done that multiple times, and especially if you do, more speedrun or watch it, it's like, okay, you're going through the motions. So because of that, Xirtanul actually pulling ahead here in this dungeon.
We'll check their arrow counts, 47 and 55, so with silvers, this is going to be an absolute breeze. They could have missed a couple dozen times if they really wanted to and still had enough.
Yeah, silver arrow definitely convenient for Vitreous. Yeah, so got some crystal sync here. Again, Xirtanul is up an entire Eastern Palace crystal. So advantage is still to him, but that could just be, again, in tower play. Both of them showing some good execution here.
Mm-hmm. They've both been really on top of the game. I mean, nobody's going to play each seed perfectly. A couple of slight bubbles here and there, but all in all, this has been fantastic on both of them, and we see them both flute to 5 immediately. And yeah, Zane's going to have to mirror after Palace of Darkness in order to complete the Eastern Palace, so who knows? Ganon's Tower Big Key could be exactly what's necessary to determine a winner, regardless of the lead right now that Xirtanul has.
Yeah, this is exciting though. Like, I really like watching this. They're gonna go through pod. For Zayn, it'd be better to do Eastern after, because then when you come out, you can mirror, and then you're saving a mirror transition, a couple of screen transitions, and you can just fleet straight to the tower.
Yep.
So see them both go through pod here. Be a lot of fun. Yeah, that's what he does. So it's very smart.
So at this point, while we're heading through the dungeon, no items to check along the way. Something I'd like to throw out is that I believe at the end of January, you may see on the Speed Gaming profile, there is a Key Sanity tournament that's going to kind of happen kind of as like an interim holdover thing before the next spring tournament for the randomizer. It's going to consist of, I believe, 4 Swiss stages, and then, or maybe 5 Swiss. It's 4 or 5 Swiss. Don't quote me, please. And then going down to the top 4 from that into a bracket. Just as like a quick little short thing to hold over until the next spring tournament starts. In addition to that, in the spring, there will be a vanilla NMG, no major glitches tournament.
I'm really looking forward to that one.
I am too. That's going to be a good one. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you like execution, that is what that tournament is going to be all about.
Yeah, if you don't like random stuff, if you like execution, definitely good to have. Definitely a good tournament. Speaking of the Spring Rando tournament, I do believe it's going to be standard mode, right?
I don't know if any of that is confirmed yet.
Okay, I really hope it is. I'm partial to standard mode myself. But open's really fun too.
You know, it's been so long since I played standard mode that it might be a good time. So, just double checking, yes, the Key Sanity and the NMG tournaments both have banners on the Speed Gaming Twitch profile. The NMG tournament, I believe, is going to be eventually capped at 128 entrants, and I believe those entrants are going to be determined by your PB. So get going, get practicing. Got a lot of time in order for you to qualify on that.
Yeah, don't be intimidated. There's a lot of people that have never actually done the speedrun before that are entering, and some people that they've maybe done the speedrun but they don't really have a notable time, but got a good 3 months to learn and practice and get into it, and it's all very good. That tournament, that game, that speedrun will benefit your rando game if that's something you're looking to improve.
Yep, all of the above is true. So if you're looking for something just a little bit different, there's plenty of options.
Yeah, so very neck and neck here in terms of when they're going through the dungeon, but now we're going to see the time difference really come into play. Zayn going to make very quick work of this and then get up to the tower really quickly. Xirtanul hitting that dead rock twice. A lot of people hit the dead rock, and then if you actually hit it again really quickly, you'll be able to hit it a second time and push it out of the way. So Xirtanul using the hookshot twice there is actually able to hit it twice. If you're able to quickly react, you can recover from hitting a dead rock, but it can be really tricky too.
Yeah, I've also noticed that with the sword beam, sometimes that same sword beam will hit it twice. Just knock it just that little bit further away from you.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with like projectile-ish type weapons. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that it works with hookshot or sword beam.
And who knows, maybe it could be just that the hookshot and the sword beams travel fast enough. I'm wondering, I'm trying to theorize, maybe the arrows wouldn't quite travel fast enough that you'd be able to get off a second shot and hit it with it. Unless you're like maybe really, really close to it.
Yeah, I think it'd have to be during like the active frames of when the dead rock is turning to stone. So yeah, the arrow would probably be a little too slow. Just want to give a big shout out to everyone in the chat. Happy unbirthday to you all, except for those with birthdays.
Wow. I hope that everybody responds now and says that it's their birthday. You know, it's just like the Beatles song, "It's my birthday too," yeah? So, it's everyone's birthday, but maybe not.
Yeah, everyone should get presents every day.
That sounds like the best kind of thing ever.
Yo, today's your unbirthday too, PogChampo?
Just a small key on the right, there's red rupee. Still looking for that big key then. Hopefully that we'll find it in the Chain Chomp room, otherwise part of Laser Bridge is going to be necessary. Zaen only a little bit behind Xirtanul now at this point. Climbing up the mountain, having a little bit of fun with the dead rock.
Yeah, I have to make up for the unfun that you normally have. Ooh, this room's the worst. And it's not even like just the combination, like they took this cool enemy, like the Chomps. They have to hit this thumb switch.
And they hit hard, even with blue mail. I think still doing 3 hearts of damage?
Yeah, I think with green they do 4.
Yes.
Something.
So I think the blue takes it down to 3, red would take it down to 1. Oh, that's right, because Xirtanul never did the Bombos tablet, so Xirtanul never got the red mail.
Yeah, he does have powder, which will come really handy in here. He's about to go to a fairy room. See chat typing F for fairy. Yeah, arrow counts good, so he doesn't need to pick up that arrow pot right there. Yeah, Zaen now heading in. So he will save some time because of that fairy death. Xirtanul, om-nom-nomming all of those fairies. Now looking healthy. Yeah, so I guess kind of while we're going through here, this Poke Room actually has 16 RNG patterns. So speaking of the NMG tournament, if you want to know how to do that, go hit up Blunt Bunny. It's got a video on YouTube that goes through every single RNG pattern to charge your sword and hit them all.
There are just so many little fine details that, I mean, you just don't think of, you don't consider, that go into the standard NMG run. Yeah, and as mentioned earlier, so much of that can be applied to Randomizer.
Yeah, definitely. Especially like movement and a lot of execution things. There's door lag, you know, there's there's a term for certain types of doors. The long and short is that when you come out of some doorways, if you're holding like a cardinal direction or well, not a cardinal, but like a diagonal, you'll actually get caught on some lag. And only certain doors actually have that, and they're left and right facing doors. Not all of them, only certain ones. So little things like that. But yeah, the game's really beautiful in how many little nuances it has. Yeah, and you got you know, air pumping, wall pumping, stair pumping, water pumping, fire pumping, earth pumping. You got you know, even just dashing towards the bird after fluting will save you frames. Activating the flute on the left side of the statue so the bird flies off quicker. The bird takes 6 seconds from activating it to call it, but if you have the boots, you can actually do a boot dash to cancel that and call the bird immediately.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, so if you have the boots, that's 6 seconds you save. Tons and tons and tons of little things like that. Even for me, like, you know, you don't really think about that when you watch either, like quick warping. Depending on how your camera is lined up to a portal, you might save 30 frames by doing a quick warp. And that's by when some people lift up the rock to go into the Dark World. They'll go to one side of the portal to actually get the quick warp. So the time it would take to lift up the rock and go to that one side is still quicker to get the quick warp.
So worth noting right now, Zaen actually skipped the big chest here. Does not have a small key going downstairs the way that Xirtanul did. Will there be one on the laser bridge? Otherwise, a very nice Trinex fight by Xirtanul on the left. Xirtanul's going to be heading over to Ganon's Tower right now, so you know what that means. I don't have to explain it. But for those of you that might have picked the finals as your first chance to watch this, 1 through 22, take a guess. Where is the Ganon's Tower big key going to be?
I normally like to say 12 or something, kind of like an offshoot of that. I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm committed to 12 just yet. How about you?
You know what, I typically go with like number 8, but today I'm feeling lucky number 16.
Okay, so I'll go with unlucky number 13.
Yes, unfortunately for Zaen, needs to head back upstairs and did not even... Because he didn't go outside for the big chest, he does not have a mirror point outside of the very beginning of the dungeon.
Yeah,
So this
really
is going to be a little bit of a lengthy trek back. Unfortunate to see.
Yeah, this is really going to cost him here. Could have bombed open the cave at the bottom to get that mirror point, but again, there's just so much going on, so much stress, and he definitely he played really well and still playing well.
Mm-hmm.
But
oh,
you know,
there's
little things like that are prone to happen.
Absolutely no dispute about that. Routing just has a funny way of sometimes putting people ahead of other people. And as silly as that sounds, it's exactly how it works with Randomizer. Execution has been very, very good all around from both runners.
Yeah, they definitely both have their little things that are a testament to them.
So Xirtanul picking up the small key from this hallway will mirror back and head to the left side of Ganon's Tower.
Yeah. It's definitely good. It's a very kind of safe, more standard route to do. I'm partial to going to the right side myself, and there's a lot of different little schools of thought you could do when it comes to Ganon Tower routing. In my opinion, it's basically just go by feel. I'd say probably the most optimal strat would be to do the classic or to do right and then go to the left. Just because you really want to make sure you get these first chests here. The ones on the left in this current room, and then the ones on the right. Because you know, regardless of what your opponent does, these are the ones that they're likely to check first. So if you get them out of the way, whether you do Dark Magician and go full right, or whether, you know, you kind of, you know, it's just kind of playing to hoping to get the early checks out quicker. In the event that the chest is later, you can kind of just deal with it then.
So I believe that was number 12 in the vanilla compass room. Or map room, I'm sorry. Xirtanul hitting that switch with the blue boomerang. Using the red one right there, I think, works a little bit better if you're trying to walk.
Yeah, but normally, yeah, you'll throw the blue meringue to the right and then kind of walk down, or you'll throw the red meringue to kind of the diagonal up. But different ways you can do it, but in terms of making sure that you have more tolerance for moving, the red boomerang probably would have worked out a little bit better there. But either way, he's got a comfortable lead. He doesn't know it, but he can definitely afford, you know, just the little things. Until we find out if Zaen, or depending on where the big key is.
So we found a shovel and a mushroom so far in here. And this is not the key sanity mode, so we do not have to worry about either of those turning into the Ganon's Tower big key. But here we go, Zaen heading into Ganon's tower now as well, after a nice Trinex fight is from him. Xirtanul having a fun little bonk there, not quite getting past that warp. Just takes a couple extra seconds.
Yeah. So if Zaen goes full right, he'll actually save time here. He'll save about 52 seconds. Because it is quicker to get to Bob and Armos by nearly a minute by just going right instead of left.
Is it really that much? That's a great chunk of time.
Yeah, when I go to Gan Tower, I'm really partial to Dark Magician or just going full right because you do get a full minute going to Bob and Armos. What you're really gambling is you're gambling 6 chests. You're gambling the one below, like the Dark Magician skeleton room. You're getting the one from the fire bar, and then you're getting the 4 in the random room. So you're gambling those 6 chests, but you're getting all the very quick front load checks. And there is our big key.
And I believe that would be chest number 20. Opening the one on the top right afterward and leaving tile room as 21 and 22.
This is very good for him. So the big thing here will be if Zaen goes full right. And we'll save a large chunk of time.
And we'll see what sort of RNG we get climbing up the gauntlet. Of course, if we're going to talk about the armory that our runners have, I think Zane's about to get butter as well. I think it was in that room. Yes, right there. So both of our runners have the butter sword, at least one male upgrade. Way too many hearts to count. And silver arrows, so things should be pretty swimmingly for them.
Yeah, this is true. Butter is nice to find, but it doesn't actually save time unless you mess up the Gan fight cycle. So it can really be a big comfort. If you're low on health and stuff too, then you can afford to play chicken a little bit more. And Xirtanul holding down to make use of iframes to get through. It's definitely a good strategy.
And we'll see as we keep going here. That Stelphos room likes to troll. The Stelphos just jump in every which way. You're not slashing me today. You're not hitting me with an arrow today, is what they say to me every single time that I go through those rooms. However, that red horsehead room, always a fun one to be able to just hit that first guy straight into a spike. I mean, he would go from one hit on the butter sword anyway, even tempered. Which is where having butter versus tempered at this point doesn't make a huge difference. I guess with Landmola, though, instead of needing to do spin attacks, you could just do 2 quick slashes, and that would help. Same with Maldorm, it's just 2 slashes on Maldorm.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, he did go to the left, which is still smart. We just, we have the unfortunate privilege of knowledge, knowing that it's not where he needs to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone's got their different strategies for routing this. There's as many ways to route this as there are people that play a randomizer, it seems. So, and sometimes there's no rhyme or reason for it. Like, if I find a small key on one of those 2 right chests initially, I may not go to the right. I may go left. It really doesn't even... There's no rhyme or reason or any specific thing telling me to do it. It's just, you go for what feels right at the time. Xirtanul falling an additional time might have to stick behind and just relight these torches quickly. It's a little bit of a tight timer.
Yeah, at this point your nerves are, going very strongly. And so, seeing a couple of flubs in Gan Tower here, which is a very hard, dungeon to do, not at all uncommon. He does have a lead, but it will start to get eaten up by these things. The Gan fight itself should go really smoothly, but this is just giving Zaen more time to work with.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. You're almost an hour, 45 minutes into a seed, into a finals race, no less. There's got to be nerves. Thumbs might start to sweat a little bit. Any number of variables could occur. And of course, Xirtanul doesn't know that he's got a decent enough lead at this point, either. You wonder where your opponent is, especially, I was thinking, after that issue with the bat cave the first time.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
of
one of those
course-
mental games that Randomizer can play with you.
Yeah, definitely. Haven't seen your opponent dot done. You're like, about to head into Act 2. No dot done.
So there we go. Zane's got the big key. Zaen is heading upstairs now. And either which way, this is a super close race. If you're finishing even 5-10 minutes apart, if you're climbing upstairs by the time your opponent is entering Aga 2, it's a close race. Pat yourself on the back. Really well done.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, finding the burrito or crepe in the final chest, and it's a little confirmation bias, but I feel like that is in that chest way more often than it should be. Or maybe I only pay attention to that one, but
Maybe they just wanted to put the comfort food in that chest. I don't know.
yeah. I did a race last night too, and it was in there too. I just feel like, I don't know, again, the confirmation bias. But good Aga 2, heading into Ganon. 6 hits phase 1, 6 hits phase 2, 4 for phase 3, and then however it works out for the last phase. And I guess just to kind of go over Aga 2 a little bit, the clones will always fire orbs. Aghanim on his first cycle will always fire an orb. After that, it's 50-50 until the 4th orb, and then it will always be an orb on the 4th, and then that cycle repeats. So kind of, you know, how in Aga 1, it was the first one is always the orb, and then 5th is lightning, and then it repeats. For Aga 2, it's just a little bit different. It's 2 and 3 is the 50-50. And then after that, I believe it's 6...
And that's for vanilla, right?
What do you mean?
Like the boss RNG being different in Randomizer, it may or may not be the same case in this, but for vanilla, that's what you're talking about?
That's a good question. I think it still follows the same principle, but that definitely is the case for vanilla.
So is Xirtanul just about to enter phase 4 if Ganon would stop moving around? Did you find the arrows in Hyrule Castle? Yes, we did. Would you like to see them? Well, one can just fly right under your nose while the other one goes right into your side. Get another, light the torches, and probably get 2 arrow hits on that one. And should be finishing this up right there with hit number 4. So GG to Xirtanul. Well, that might be a little preemptive. There is still a pit 2 tiles in front of him. But there we have it. GG Xirtanul, winner of Game 1, with an official race time of 1 hour, 47 minutes, and 40 seconds.
Yeah, it's definitely a very good race. And don't forget, the next one's coming up here. So let's probably try and get them in here for a short interview. But Game 2 coming up next. And so this time, Team Ganon takes the win. Just to kind of reiterate for people that got here late, Xirtanul came from the Ganon group, and Zaen came from the Link group. So it's kind of the fated group much right here.
Hey there, Xirtanul. Congratulations on your win for Game 1.
GG.
Thank you very much.
We are going to keep this brief so that you guys can get some adequate resting time between matches, but you did say that you wanted to explain one thing in SRL, so
Yeah,
the
I
floor is
want
yours.
explanation on one thing, and that is what the hell happened at the Magic Bat. I mean, I jumped over the hole, and eventually I think that actually helped me to get the cane, so I was in go mode earlier, but I was really confused when I jumped over it.
Yeah, I think we all were. I actually didn't personally see it. I was looking at Zane's window at the time, and then suddenly I see, wait, you didn't get the hammer from the bat. What happened there? Hearing a little bit of chatter on it, I think it has something to do with a quick ledge hop. Were you trying that and just holding down?
I was holding down, yeah, but I usually do that, so...
Okay. I think what I'm reading is that there's a chance of actually overshooting that hole if you quick ledge hop down that and continue to hold the down directional.
Okay, well, guess what I'm never going to do again?
And here I was thinking Vivi was a smaller, lighter character.
Yeah, indeed, that's why I
Soar
picked him.
through
But
the
then
air.
again, he's got a kite as a shield, so I don't think that really helped.
I like this. Yeah, the shield. Yeah, try and do that thing where you're a kid where you hold like a plastic bag or something over your head and you jump and think it's gonna help you.
Yeah, indeed. But I was actually surprised that T-Rock didn't have anything. I mean, at the what's it called? The Riot Shield, we had that like 20 minutes in. I was really thinking that T-Rock had something, but in the end, I could just go mode it.
Yeah, that's true. You got that super early. It was actually surprising. I don't think I've ever seen all 3 shields at about 15 minutes.
Yeah, your character pretty much disappeared for most of the game.
Well, he is a magician after all.
Yeah, this is true. But Zaen just about finishing up here. But it's kind of interesting because I think you went and did the full clear of Ice Palace, and then you got Bombos, which let you go mode Swamp. But Zaen opted to go Swamp, full cleared Swamp, and then went and full cleared Ice Palace. So that was a real key difference between the two of you.
I was actually hoping that would happen because I know about 9 out of 10 players would have chosen Swamp because it's just 6 items. So I was just like, well, if I can just do Ice and if I get Quake there, then I'm in Go mode. So that would give me an advantage.
Yeah, just want to say real quick, GG to Mr. Zaen. He finishes in second place with a time of 1 hour, 51 minutes, and 8 seconds.
Yeah, really, just a fantastic race all around. We have race number 2 between these two in the secondary finals coming right up. We'll probably give the runners a 5-10 minute break or so. Let them get up, stretch, and whatnot, maybe breathe a little bit. So don't go anywhere. We are going to have a new commentary crew coming in and whatnot. It's been a pleasure chatting with you guys. It's been a pleasure chatting with you as well, Dory. Thanks for doing this with me.
Oh, thank you. Same for you too. So really looking forward to this. And I get to commentate with the one and only DT.
Oh, please. It's been a pleasure, though.
Of all the swag songs. It's very exciting. It's a birthday present.
And if I may interrupt for a little bit, I don't know if Chad already did this or DT, but happy birthday, Dory.
Thank you. And happy unbirthday to you too.
Just in a few days.
Well, happy
really?
almost
Cool.
birthday, Xirtanul. Well, good luck to you in race number 2, buddy.
Thanks. I'm going to have a small break now. So see you later, and thanks for commentating.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
It was a good race to commentate too.
Yeah, this is true. You can blame DT for all your singing woes, good and bad.
You know what? You can just blame me for basically anything. I guess that's really the consensus we can go with, right?
Well, you did mention Bombos.
Well, there were several things you mentioned too that we just happened to find right away. So
yeah, so we'll be burning together. It's okay.
That sounds horrible, actually. But that being said,
melt together. So, okay, anyway.
I'm going to sign myself off now and get set for race number 2 as well. It's going to be a fun one to watch. So stick around, guys. Dory, again, it was a pleasure. And I swear there was something else I was going to say too. Right, there is a NMG tournament starting in the spring and a Key Sanity tournament at the end of January. So check those things out. Hope to see you guys there.
Yeah, thank you to our tracker, to your streamer, everyone hanging out. Remember to help control the windfish population, get them spayed or neutered, and have a good day. Bye.